Flip to Freedom, episode number 30. Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip to Freedom podcast, and I'd like to welcome you to episode number 30. Now, if you are brand new listening for the very first time, I am here to help you escape the 9 to 5 and live the lifestyle of your dreams by learning how you can make an absolute fortune flipping properties in your spare time, even if you're brand new. I don't care if you've ever bought a house before. I don't care if you don't have any cash or any credit or you're working a full-time job or whatever it is. You can flip properties in your spare time. And the entire goal of this podcast is to help show you exactly how to get 1 year's worth of your income in the bank as fast as possible so you have the option to be able to walk away from your job. Now, what I did was I wrote a book, a 129-page book that you can get for free at flip2freedom.com. That's flip2freedom.com. Just go there. You'll see a video of me, and on the front page, there'll be a place where you can enter your email, and I will email you a special link of where you can download this comprehensive, detailed blueprint system on exactly how you can quit your job in 19 weeks or less by getting 1 year's worth of your income in the bank. Now, in this episode, we are going to talk about exactly how to make an absolute fortune from flipping vacant houses. I'm going to talk to you about the opportunity of vacant houses. We're going to talk about how to find them, what to look for, how to find the owner, what to say and negotiate, and the whole gamut. So we are going to basically dive in deep about vacant houses. So after you're done this, there are people that literally, that's all they do. All they do is focus strictly on vacant houses, and they make tons, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just flipping vacant houses from this one little tiny niche. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to share a great quote with you and a great story, a rags to riches story that will definitely inspire you and let you know that, listen, anybody can do this. Anybody, I don't care where you came from, what your background is, what your education is. Anybody has the ability to go from where you are today to where you want to be. This, in real estate, is a vehicle to get you to where you are, right where you are now to get to where you want to be. So, and real estate is by far one of the best vehicles that you can get in today. And you can start with no cash, no credit. I don't care if you have any experience, and you can get involved in it, and it can bring you to another level. And what's that another level? Maybe owning rental properties, maybe fixing and flipping properties once you build up capital. What's another level after that? Maybe it's buying vacant land. Maybe it's mini storage. Maybe it's larger cash flow, commercial properties. Maybe it's big multi-unit complexes. Well, it could start from flipping a shack in the ghetto to turn around and building, Trump Tower like Donald Trump does. It just depends on how big your mind is, what you want to accomplish, and just going from step by step by step. So in this, we talk about the first step. If you're brand new, you don't know anything about real estate, this is the perfect thing. But also, too, I get into some serious advanced stuff on exactly how to basically explode your business from doing maybe one deal a month. One deal a month, you're doing pretty well. 2 deals a month, you are living large. 3 deals a month, 4 deals a month, 5 deals a month, man, you are raking in the cash. You're getting up to 7 to 10 deals a month. You're talking close to $1 million a year just flipping properties. And now you're going to obviously be a little bit more full-time doing that, but it is definitely possible. All right, now, enough jibber jabber. Let's get into the meat, because I know you guys like the meat. All right. Now, let's talk about the opportunity for vacant houses. Well, think about it. How many times have you drove around a neighborhood before when you're just maybe driving to a friend's house, grandma's house, whatever it might be, and you see a house that has weeds that are, up to your knees. It's all pitch black, and it looks just run down a little bit, and it just looks like nobody's there. There's a bunch of papers in the driveway, and you go, wow, I wonder what happened to that person. Wonder where they went. Well, vacant houses, there is an opportunity in that house. Because think about it, if someone just walks away from the house, there's two reasons. One, in this market, they're either upside down, or two, they are either facing foreclosure, or three, it's a rental property and they just are out of state and they just don't want to deal with a property. Just get this thing off my hands. So, I'll give you a story about a rental property. I mean, actually, a vacant house that we recently did. It's basically over in Scottsdale, off a street called Whitney, and I was out looking for, I think I was going to an appointment or something in the neighborhood, and I always make it a habit to drive the entire neighborhood before going into my appointment and looking for a couple things. First, I'm looking for comps, so I know exactly what I'm talking about the neighborhood when I do go talk to the motivated seller. That's the first thing I look for. The second thing I look for is for sale by owner signs, because I always call for sale by owner signs to see if they would potentially want to do seller financing, or maybe do a wrap or do a lease option. And I always look for vacant houses, and I'm writing down the address of these vacant houses in my little notepad that I have in my car when I'm driving around. Now, I happened to do this, and I found this one house that there was all these yellow, what do they call them? The yellow books. Everyone goes online now, right? So you don't use those stupid yellow books anymore. But they're all piled up in front of the house. Newspapers everywhere, and I could totally tell if the place is vacant. Now, I'll get into exactly how you can tell if the house is vacant or not. So I kind of did my snooping around. I checked the electrical box, and there was no electricity to the house, and I kind of peeked in the windows, and all this cobwebs are everywhere, and kind of peeked around. I could really tell that the house was vacant and nobody was there. Well, next door, there happened to be a lady that was sweeping out the garage, so I went and talked to her, and I said, "Hey, do you know what's going on with this house?" And she goes, "Yeah, the guy is, I don't know what his deal is, but he upped and moved to California, and he's gone." I said, "Well, do you have any way of contacting him?" And she goes, "Yes, I happen to have his cell phone number." Brilliant. So I said, "Great." I said, "What is it? Let's call him." So I called the guy, and I talked to him, and I got a contract on the property and turned around and flipped that property. I think made about $18,000 on the deal, but it was a great deal because he didn't want to have anything to do with it. He was just done. He was in a divorce situation. Wife left. He took off, and we turned around and made a profit on that deal. So vacant houses are great. A great way to locate motivated sellers, and I'm always sending letters out to vacant house owners. Now, vacant houses are the highest form of motivated sellers, the highest form, because they've walked away from the property. They're the easiest to negotiate because think about it. They're done. They walked away from the property. The place is all grown up. It's a mess. They don't want to pay the taxes on it. They want to get the place clean, and it's a disaster area. It's just terrible. I'll give you an example. Another house we flipped about a month or so ago was a vacant house, and it was code violations, about almost $1,500 worth of code violations on there. The lady was in Denver, Colorado. She had it as a rental property. Used to live in it years ago, but then moved to Denver, and she was just sick of the thing. Absolutely sick of it. She owed, I believe, like $40,000 to $45,000. I think it was like $45,000. And talked to her, negotiated her, and basically got her to agree to take $3,000 above and beyond the mortgage and to keep the existing mortgage in place. So literally, we could pick it up for $3,000. Now, the place was in a little disarray. It was boarded up. It was kind of nasty. So have my guys go in there, clean up the entire place, cost us maybe $400 or $500, and then turn around and flip the place to a retail buyer that wanted it, and made over $10,000 on that one deal alone on a vacant house. And they were just sitting there, which is a great way to do that. So, love vacant houses. Okay, easy to negotiate with. When I talked to her on the phone, she was in Denver, Colorado. I was like, "Have you seen this place?" I took a bunch of pictures and I sent it to her, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen the place. It's terrible." Yeah, city violations on it we had to clear up, and it was a mess. So even better, the worse off it is, the better off it is. Gotta love it. All right, so where do you look for these vacant houses? Where do you find them? Well, Actually, where to look. You want to know where to look for them. Well, you want to look for vacant houses in high cash transaction areas. Now, if you have a realtor friend or if you have a realtor on your team, have them do a search in the MLS for all the cash transactions that have happened over the past 30, 60, 90 days. And what will happen is you go into the map of the MLS and you will see a high density of cash transactions. You'll see pockets within the MLS where there are massive amounts of cash transactions. Same thing here in Maricopa County, Arizona, where I flip houses here, and I literally just did it not more than an hour ago before doing this podcast. I looked in there, and there are high dense areas. I did for an entire month of November, and I was amazed because there are tons of just cash in this one little pocket of town here, because the houses are so cheap. They're 17, 18, 5,000, 10,000 cheap houses that landlords are picking up, and they're turning around and renting them for tons of cash flow. And these houses will go up in value in 5 to 7 years, but they're getting tons of cash flow by just putting in carpet and paint and sticking a renter in there. So you want to basically target areas that are high cash transactions areas. And then where to look for them? Anytime you're out and about. Anytime you're driving around, like we just talked about, you're going to look at a house, you're going to grandmother's house, you're going to McDonald's, whatever you're doing in that day, when you're driving into a neighborhood, always keep your alerts on for vacant houses and have a little notepad, or have I have a voice recorder on my iPhone, I can record that. And then just keep note of vacant houses that you can send letters to, and we'll get into exactly how to do that. So, what are you looking for in a vacant house? How do you tell if the house is vacant? We got 5 different things here. 1, it's boarded up. That's a clue, right? Windows are covered with tin foil. There's paper. There's plastic all over the place. You want to check for notices posted by the bank or the city. On the door, you'll see like code violations, has been abandoned or vacant. Check the electric meter or the water spigot. If I'm trying to determine if the houses are vacant or not, I'll go up and kind of peek in the windows, and I'll look at the electric meter. If it's spinning, or if it's digital and it's moving, well, there's definitely someone in the house. But if not, then that is a sure sign that it's vacant. The other thing too is you can turn on the water spigot. If the water's turned off, then it's a definite sign that the property's vacant. All right, check for notices. Check for the electric water spigot. No trespassing signs in the property. Sometimes you'll see that. They'll put no trespassing signs. That might be a way to see if it's vacant for sure. And then dead landscaping. The grass is high. It just looks old and run down. There's a bunch of papers all in the front. There's piled up stuff, cobwebs all over the place, and dark all the time. That is a good sign of a vacant property. So that's what you want to look for when you're driving around checking out these vacant houses. Now, what you are looking for? Well, so now think about this. You're driving around, right? You go to this house, you happen to see this vacant house, all this stuff's all over the place, exactly the way I explained. You kind of go up to the house, you look around and snoop around a little bit, and you kind of see the electric meter's off, and you see the water's off, and you go, okay, this is a vacant house for sure. Okay, so then you write down the address. Well, once you write down the address, right, then what you do is you want to do a cross-reference in your county assessor. So go into and type in your city, or type in your county, of course. I put Maricopa County Assessor, and it comes right up, and I can go into the assessor's website, and I can type in the address, and I can find out who the owner is. And then you can look for the tax mailing address. Now, inside the county assessor, you'll have the actual address, right, to the house, and then there'll be a tax mailing address. There'll be 2 different addresses. If those 2 addresses are the same, then that's primarily the homeowner, and now we got to hunt down the homeowner. If those 2 addresses are different, it typically means it's a rental property, and then you can send a yellow letter to that different address, which is the tax mailing address, and then wait for a response from that way, or still hunt down the owner and try to get their number. So once you have that owner's name, then we can start looking for homeowners. We can start finding out who they are. Now, So now you have, you wrote down the address, you went in the county assessors, you got the guy's name, he happens to be in the same house. Maybe, let's say it's not a tax mailing address, there's a differential there. Let's say it's the same. So now what do you do with the name? How the heck do you track down this guy? Well, there's a couple different ways. You can leave a note on the door, right? What I would just, when I'm at the house I'm looking at, I just write a little note on the door, saying, hey, looking for one more rental house, give me a call if you'd like to sell, and just stick a note in the door. Sometimes the owner will come back and check on the mail. You're not technically supposed to put mail inside the person's mailbox, because that's only the job for the mailman, but you can definitely post it in their door or put it by the mailbox if it's closed up by the front door. The next way to track down the owners is to write a yellow letter to the tax mailing address if it's different, which we talked about. Another great way of finding the owners is I always have in my car about 5 to 10 to 15 Bandit signs. They're white plastic corrugated signs with little sign stakes. And what I'll do is I'll write, must sell house fast for cash. And I'll put my eVoice number or my Google Voice number or whatever, my voicemail number. And then I'll stick the sign in the front yard. Now, it's great because of this. Is because, one, you're going to get cash buyers that are going to call you to want to get on your cash buyers list, number one, and trying to see if they want to, interest in the property. And number two, you're sometimes are going to get the owner that's going to call you, and he's going to be mad as a wet hornet. He's going, what the heck are you putting a sign in my front yard for? Now, you got to be prepared for that, because that's the call you're going to get if the owner calls you and say, what are you talking about? What's the address? Gives you the address. Goes, oh my gosh, my idiot guys, they put it in front of the wrong house. Hey, listen, I'm so sorry. I greatly apologize. But hey, listen, are you looking to sell your house? It's a great way. You apologize up and down, and then you can talk. I know it's kind of sneaky. I know. But it works. And guess what? If you end up buying the house, it helps the neighborhood. It helps the guy, right? He says, he wants to turn around and sell it. Helps him, right? Helps the cash buyer, because he either gets a rental property or he gets a property he can fix and flip. So it's a helping everybody all the way around. Now, if it was hurting somebody and a detriment to somebody, I wouldn't tell you to do it. But it's not. It's helping people. And that's what it's all about. All right. Now, you can call information, the old 411 or 9, whatever, not 911, but 411. Call 411 and say, hey, I got the person's name, here's the last known address, and they might have a forwarding address or forwarding number that you can call them at. So definitely try that. I know it's pretty basic, but it works. The other thing you could do is visit neighbors like I did. You can see if the neighbors are around in the property. Knock on the neighbor's door and ask them if they know anything about the house. You can Google the person's name to see if anything comes up. Or you can perform what's called a skip trace. And a skip trace is where it's basically a people finder or a location service that can locate somebody and find out what their last known address is, or phone numbers, or cell phone numbers, or any stuff like that. And there's a lot of different. I'll post all these up on the blog at flip2freedom.com under the podcast section on the top tab there. But there's address.com, there's anywho.com, there's AOL white pages, infospace.com, and tellus.com, peoplefinder.com, people.yahoo.com, privateeye.com, superpages.com, switchboard.com, ussearch.com, whitepages.com, which is really good. That's the first place I go, worldpages.com, and zabasearch.com. All of those are great ways to actually locate somebody if you're trying to find them for a vacant house. And then, once you find the name and the number, then you can call them. So what if you can't find the name and the number? What if you just run into like old addresses? You might find an uncle or relative or friend or previous places they've lived or something like that. But it's kind of a search. And I'm going to tell you this. The harder it is to find the owner, the better the deal you're going to get. Because most average investors, they'll find the property address, and then they're going to find the person's name, and they're going to try to send a letter, or they're going to try to do something, and they are going to stop, and they're either going to forget about that lead, or they are going to stop when they hit the first hurdle. But since you are a Flip to Freedom podcast listener, and you are not an average investor, you are going to dig deep, because you know that if you can find that owner, it's going to be a smoking deal, because no one else is going to be able to find them, and you will get a huge payday at the end, because you had the persistence and the desire to push through that obstacle and find that seller. Okay, so now what do you say? You call up the owner. Let's say you find him. You get his cell phone number. You went through a couple of your favorite search places there. You found him and said, "Hey, okay, great. Let's find out. Let's get him on the phone here." So you call him up, and what do you say? You say, "I'm looking for one more rental house, and I saw your house was vacant, and I was wondering if you consider selling it anytime soon." So they're going to say either yes or no. They're going to say, "No, I'm not. I don't even care about that house. You know what? That house. I haven't been in that house in 6 months. I don't want anything to do with it." Say, "Great." And then you can start into the negotiation part of it, which is my favorite part. So what you're doing is you're looking to see if they have interest in just getting rid of the house, selling the house. And you're trying to find out and test their motivation level. How motivated are they to sell the house? Now, if you get an answer and they go, "I just want to get rid of this thing. I'm just so sick of it. It's just driving me nuts. I'm done with the house." Or, "I just went through a divorce. We're not doing anything with it." Or they go, "Well, yeah, I'm consider selling it. I've kind of ran out of money and I got to go fix it up, and now I was going to rent it out." But they kind of play, like, "Well, yeah, I know it's vacant, but I'm going to get around to it." That is a sign. I mean, if you can get a hold of the owner, there's a very, very good chance that there will be a high motivation level there that that you can be able to buy that property. I'll tell you a story real quick. I found a vacant property, and it was pretty beat up, pretty bad. And I went through this whole process. I went to the tax records. I found out who the owner was, and the owner was actually at the same address. So then I went to the neighbors, and neighbors didn't know anything. So what do you do? Now I went to find a skip trace. Then I did like a skip trace on it, and I found there was a person in Hawaii. There was so-and-so. I called that person in Hawaii. It happened to be his sister. I called up, talked to the sister in Hawaii at the different time zones, actually traced down the guy. He was in Hawaii living in his sister's house, moved away from Arizona, and he said, "Deal, just get it done." And I flipped that house, made $10,000 because I found this guy in Hawaii, and he couldn't believe I found him. He was like, "How the heck did you find me?" I said, "Well, I just did a little snooping around, and I was able to find it." And he goes, "Well, thank God you called me, because I didn't know what to do with this house." And he sold it, and I turned around and sold it to an investor, and I made $10,000. The investor fixed and flipped it and helped the neighborhood. So all these vacant house stories are coming to me like crazy. Anyways, so now you're talking on the phone. You got a motivation level there. Now they're either going to sell it for what's owed on the property, or for very little. So the first rule of thumb when negotiating with anybody is you never name the first price. Period. Never name the first price. You always say, I say, "Listen, what's owed on the property?" And you're gathering your information. Okay, great. Can you tell me about the property? How many bed and bath is it? How long have you owned it? What did you use it for? Was it for rental purposes? Oh, is your mom's house? Okay, great. What's owed on the property? Oh, there's, $50,000 that's owed on the property. How much repairs do you think needs to be done? Is there any back taxes on the property? Is there any liens or judgments or citations or violations on the property? And you're getting all this information to get an idea of what you're in the property for, and if it's a potentially good deal, and how much repairs are needed on the ballpark level. All right, so now when you say, "Listen, I see there's $50,000. Hey, can I buy this thing for what's owed on the property?" And 7 times out of 10, they'll say, "I just want to get rid of this thing. If you can just get this thing off my hands, great." And if they say that, then you say, "Well, listen, for your trouble, help me get all the paperwork and get everything transferred and take care, and we'll give you $500. Does that sound fair?" And they'll say, "Fine. Yeah, okay, great. Let's just get it done." Okay, that is what happens with vacant houses. That's why they're so great, because they're detached. They left. They're done with the property. And then if they say, well, no, I'm not just going to give it away. Yeah, it might be vacant. I mean, they need to, work on it and stuff on this house. But listen, I'm just not going to give this thing away. So you say, great. What is the minimum amount of cash you need to get out of this deal? And they're going to say, well, I haven't thought about it. Well, now think about it. If you had to name a number today, what would it be? And they're going to say, well, let's, $5,000, $3,000, whatever the number is. Okay, well, let's call it whatever, your $5,000. And then how quick can you get me inside it so I can take a look at it to determine, all the repairs and stuff like that. See, once you get a number out of them, then you can say, okay, great, keep that number fine. Don't negotiate right there. Just keep that number. Say, great. Okay, $5,000. You want $5,000 above and beyond the mortgage? Okay, great. Now, when can I see the property? So then you go inside the property and you look at it. Well, guess what? That number for $5,000 is going to go a lot lower because, but hey, guess what? There's repairs needed on the property, right? So you say, listen, now you're at the property. You made an appointment. You went and looked at the property. You checked it out. You're there with them. They feel kind of bad. They don't want to leave this vacant house. There's probably stuff all over the place. It needs repairs, and you're kind of walking through this house, picking out everything that's wrong with the property, right? And then you say, listen, $5,000. I mean, this needs a lot more work than I expected. I don't even know if I can make it work at the even at your loan amount. I mean, there's more stuff than I expected here. So, I know I asked him $5,000, and honestly, I can't even come close to that. But what's the absolute rock bottom minimum you would take? If I could just take this property off your hands. And that number will change, I guarantee it. I've got people from $10,000 to $15,000 down to a couple $100 just by asking that question. And you always ask, once they give you a number, always ask, is that the best you can do? I've asked that question 3 and 4 and 5 times. Hey, and I keep backing off. Is that the best you can do? I can do, I can do 4,500. 4,500 with all the work that needs to be done and the roof and this, and I have to redo the electric. There's some unpermitted additions in the back. I mean, look at the landscapes. Are you serious? Tell me, is 4,500 the best you can do? Well, I could do, I don't know. I could do maybe 3,500. Yeah, well, that would definitely help. I mean, that'd make it a little bit better, and but still, I mean, by the time I get done the carpet, and I have to pay selling concessions, and I have to pay closing costs, and I have to pay fees, and you get this violation on the property. I sure 3,500 is absolute rock bottom and best you can do. And they go, well, I made 3,000, and that's it. I'm not going any lower than $3,000. So 3,000 is the absolute best you can do, right? Is that the best you can do? Yeah, that's the absolute. I'm not going any lower. When they stop you, and they say, that's it, I'm not going any lower, they throw their hands up and they say, okay, great. Let's do it for $3,000. That's when you know to stop pushing, right? And then you stop pushing when they put their foot in the ground and they say, that's it. Now, you can go back and say, listen, why don't we do 2,500? But that's a little pushing it too far for me. But it is possible to do. But what you do is, once they lay their foot in the sand, say, great, okay, let's do it. And let's write up the contract, and we'll get this thing going. So that is how you negotiate with a motivated seller. First off, you get the price over the phone, try to get the best price, and then you meet them at the property and negotiate that price further. Now, how do you expand your business from you going out and finding motivated sellers through vacant houses and finding vacant houses? How do you expand it from you doing it and you going out and driving around to get bigger? So now we have leads coming in. Well, then what you can do is you can find bird dogs and have bird dogs go out and find you properties and submit a lead sheet and submit pictures, and you can pay them anywhere from $5 to $10 a lead, depending how generous you are. I typically pay them $5 a lead. So $5 a lead, they go out and they find all these vacant. I don't care if you find 10 in a day. I'll give you $50 a day. You go find me 10 vacant houses. Write up the lead sheets on them. All the information I'm looking for about the property, about what the neighbors say, the electric on the property, if it's on or off, if the water's on or off, if it's furniture inside or not, all the information I'm looking for in a property. And then submit that lead sheet with pictures, as many pictures as you possibly can get. And I'll pay them $5 per lead. Now think about it. Like I said, they go get 10 houses in a day. That's easy. That's $50 a day. What if they get 20 houses? That's $100 a day they can make, by just going out and finding vacant houses, which is a great deal for them. It's guaranteed. And now, not every lead for me turns into a deal, but guess what? If they send me 10, 20 leads, I'll get 1 or 2 deals out of that and make $5,000 to $10,000. I guarantee it. So you have your bird dog fill out the lead sheet, have them submit pictures. Rule of the vacant houses that they're submitting: no houses that are listed. No, listed with, because there are a lot of bank REOs will list their houses with realtors, and we do not want realtor listed houses, and we don't want houses that are for sale by owner, that are vacant houses, because typically those are investors and they're trying to turn around and flip them for sale by owner. You want vacant houses, no signs, not listed, nothing. And once you get your email address or PayPal account, then you can just use PayPal to get them paid once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on what your agreement is, and pay them for the leads that they submit. Now, that is a great way to expand your business. Now, what if, let's look at big picture here. What if you focused on vacant houses, and that was one lead source of all the lead sources we talk about. When it talks about inheritance, we talk about probate, we talk about absentee owners, we talk about absentee investors, we talk about free and clear properties, all these different avenues to get leads coming in. What if you had 10 bird dogs that are out there and bringing you vacant houses? Let's say they only brought you 2 or 3 a day, $20 a day, whatever, 2 or 3 a day. But you had 10 people and you get 20 leads a day in of vacant houses. You're doing skip traces, you're doing searches, you're locating owners, you're calling owners. You will get deals, and you'll get deals, and there's no way you can't make $10,000 to $15,000 a month if you have a system set up that just like that with vacant houses that are bringing you these vacant houses, and you locate the sellers and do deals with these individuals. I mean, tell them it's a great game plan to use. It's not the only game plan to find motivated sellers, but it's a part of your arsenal to find great deals to make extra cash. Just you would put that in your lead generation tool that I talk about. Okay, now I want to give you a story about Brian Tracy, and he has a true rags to riches story. Dropped out of school, didn't even graduate from high school. He was a laborer, just one of the guys that dropped out, and he went straight into doing manual labor. He was what's called a tramp steamer, and I don't even know what the heck a tramp steamer was or is, but he worked minimal non-jobs, not driving nice cars, not having nice things, and just living the average everyday life. And he was just basically trying to figure out a way that he could, just survive. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation just listen, man, I just want to survive. I don't want to get rich. I don't want to have a big old house. I don't want to have a big old car, man. I just want to pay my bills every month. Some people are in that situation. But the thing is this. He struggled. Then he got into sales. And once he got into sales, he started looking at the successful salespeople. And he started looking, going, wow, look at these. These guys are doing things different. They have a different attitude. They have a different demeanor. They have a different confidence level. They're doing things that are different. And what he did is he started to emulate these successful salespeople. And from that point, he learned about goal setting, about writing a clear-cut, goals down. And one of his quotes that he recently shared was, people with clear, and this is a quote from Brian Tracy, people with clear written goals accomplish far more in a shorter period of time than people without them could ever imagine. Now listen to his story. I want to play you Brian Tracy's story from his own mouth of him telling exactly his rags to riches story. And I can tell you it is by far inspiring, because there are people right now that are listening to this podcast right now, and they are in a situation and they are in rags. And they are in a situation where they live in an apartment or live in a house where they don't have everything that they ever thought they would dream. And they're going, how the heck, man, am I going to get out of this? The recession is pounding them down. Well, guess what? Brian will pretty much tell you his rags to riches story on exactly how he went out and went from nothing to greatness in a very, very short period of time. So let's listen to Brian right now.
When did the thirst for knowledge and for growth happen? And then why did you decide to start putting all this together on tapes and so forth for people in books and all that?
Well, it's very simple. As you mentioned, I didn't graduate from high school. And so I started off poor, working at laboring jobs for several years, working in construction, always broke, driving an old car, sometimes even living in the car. And one day I began asking, why is it that some people are more successful than others? Now, I learned later in life that every so often a question or a quote or something will hit you, and it will actually knock you into a different direction. And this knocked me into a different direction. And so I just began asking, why is it that some people make so much more money or live in better homes or are wealthy and have nice cars? Because I saw people around me who didn't seem to be much more talented than me or smarter or better in any way. And as I began seeking the answers, I found them. Now the next thing I did is I did what I found. I still remember coming across that idea, successful people have written goals. So I wrote down a series of goals on a piece of scrap paper, that's all I had, and within 30 days my life changed. And I looked at that scrap of paper and almost all the goals had been achieved. I hadn't even thought about them, but my whole life began to change, almost like you're driving in bump cars, right. And suddenly you start getting bumped from all directions, and all the bumping moves you towards your goals. And I began to get results that were absolutely phenomenal. I went from rags to non-rags. I went from living in a boarding house to a rented apartment, and then to an apartment loaded with furniture and nice clothes and cars and restaurants. And I couldn't believe it. And I looked at people on both sides of me who were doing the same old things, getting no results. So I became so excited about this. Wow, if I can find out how to succeed in a particular area and do it, then I can shorten the amount of time it takes me. Now I have more than 300 audio and video learning programs in 22 languages on something like 30 different subjects that are used in corporations all over the world for training in leadership, management, sales, personal development, success, time management, goals. But they all came from this hunger to learn this material and then to share it with other people.
I love listening to stories like that because, when you hear people like Brian Tracy that tell a story of where they came from literally nowhere and no college education, nothing, and then they learn how to, one thing that can make a massive difference, and it's write a goal down, becomes, crystal clear on that goal, put 100% persistence behind it, 100% drive behind it, and focus, and said, I'm going to make that goal happen. And that's what he did. So you could be in a similar situation going, why isn't it working? How can I get it to work for me? Well, people, goals are so overplayed, right? So people go, I hear, I know, I hear. I got to write my goals down. I got to look at them, and I got to, whatever. You know what? Do it. Write your goals down. Specifically, what's your story? What's your story going to be? Let's talk about this real quick. What is your story going to be when it's all said and done? What's your rags to riches story going to be? Think about it. That you got started, I just tripped across this crazy podcast, this nuts. I don't have a college education. I'm a dork. I'm a good football player, but I used U.S. Marine, went in the Marine Corps, got out, didn't go to college, took a couple classes, didn't like it. But you know what? I'm telling you, I'm an avid reader. I read more books and emulate and look for success and everything I can do to be more and become more in my life. And I've created a story in my life to where literally it came from absolutely nothing. I was in landscaping, for crying out loud, which is a terrible thing. You know, I went from public speaking to landscaping to, it's all over the place. And before I got into flipping houses, I was at a low point in my life. I absolutely hated what I was doing. I was literally in a position where I was living month to month. Some months I'd do great, and some months I would just do terrible. And I ran across a guy who told me how you could flip properties in your spare time, and I got excited about it. And you didn't need any cash. You didn't have to have any credit. You didn't have to have knowledge. You didn't have to have experience. You didn't have to be, come from a golden spoon or whatever. And I got excited about it and got started, and I went out in my first 3 weeks. He taught to knock on pre-foreclosure doors. Told you in the last episodes there. But I went out and I made $11,008 in my first 3 weeks. And then from that point on, I built a portfolio of over 120 properties using seller financing, subject to. I financed some deals. And it was just unbelievable. From May to December, my first year, I made $124,000. And from then on, it blew up, which I bought and sold over $120 million worth of property, and it's just been going crazy. Now, it's not all been roses and just, oh my gosh, it just, went out and he found real estate, flipped properties, and been great. In 2008, it sucked. We were fixing and flipping properties and selling to investors across the country. They changed the appraisal laws. They changed the financing. When banks were collapsing all around and people didn't know what the heck was going on. The market was going down like crazy here in Phoenix. I mean, it was dropping like 5 to 10% a month. People didn't want to buy rental properties. And man, our business came to an entire crashing halt. And I was just sitting there going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Because we would buy properties, we would renovate them, we'd fix them, we'd put a tenant in them, and we'd sell them to investors all across the country. And we were cranking at one point. Then the market came to a crash, and we're like, holy cow, what are we going to do? Went back to the basics, flipping properties, found cash buyers, built a list, started cranking out, started working, and now we're just doing tons and tons of deals. I got people all across the entire country doing deals now, and we're closing deals left and right. And it's not because I'm great. It's not because at all, believe me. There are people listening to this podcast right now that have more talent, more ambition, more motivation level, more education than I do that will take this information and take it to levels that I just love to see. I'm just an average guy, just like you and I, and all I've done is found a way in a system to turn around, and I know exactly what works and how to get results. And that's what I'm teaching you exactly how to do through Flip to Freedom. That's what it is. And you might not, agree with the whole thing. You can take chunks out of that and apply it and turn around and you can get results. But the bottom line is what is your story going to be? What is your story going to be? If you're sitting in this situation right now, the recession is beating the living crap out of you like it was me in 2008, and beating you down, and you're just sitting there, going, what the heck am I going to do? Don't sit paralyzed. Create your story. And the first step is you write your story down like it's already happened. The lifestyle you want, the family you want, the freedom you want, the cars you want, everything you want. Everything you want to be, everything you want to do, and everything you want to have. Write your story out right now like it's already happened. Take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes and have fun with it. Write it down. Say, listen, if you reached your pinnacle right now, do a little dreaming. If you reached your pinnacle, 3 years down the road, 5 years, whatever it is, 6 months down the road, write down your story as if you've already completed it. And then you read your story in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening before you go to bed. And you think about it, and you dream about it, and you visualize it, and you make that such a part of your DNA that your mind will take you to that point. I guarantee it. Because your mind is a servo mechanism. Your mind is like a guided missile. What you put in that guided missile is going to go to its target. And your mind is that same way. And you put information in your mind, visualize pictures, information, and it's like programming a guided missile that will hit its target. Now think about it. If you don't plug anything into a guided missile, where's it going to go? You light the thing on fire, the thing takes off. It's just going to fly around in circles, isn't it? Same thing with your brain. If you don't stick anything in there with a guide of exactly where it's going to go, guess what? You're just going to be like a boat in the water with the sail up, and the wind is going to blow you whichever way it's going to go. My boat's in the water. I know exactly where I'm going to go, and I'm going to focus. I don't care what wind is blowing me where. I'm knowing it where I'm going to go. I have a target, and I'm going there. And I don't care what gets in my way. I don't care if a tidal wave gets in my way, because I'm going to get there no matter what. Why? Because I'm focused on the goal, and that's what I'm going to accomplish. That's the attitude you have to have. You create the story now, and you'll be living it quicker than you've ever dreamt possible. Trust me. It happens super fast. All right, now next week we are going to talk about how to build confidence. We're going to talk about confidence. Because you know what? It takes confidence to go talk to motivated sellers. It takes confidence to talk to buyers. It takes confidence to do things. And guess what? There is a way that you can get confidence. And we're going to talk about it next week. So when you walk in and you do something, you are feeling great about it. And you're going to walk in and you are going to know that you're going to make it happen. So until next week, thanks for hanging around in this episode. I had a blast hanging out with you. Until next week, I will see you in the next episode. And I wish you ultimate success in your real estate investing career. Take care and God bless.